Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio, your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Hello and welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where we provide world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Our show today is A Woman's Prerogative, Part 2. I'm Caroline Heward, and I'm absolutely thrilled and honoured to be representing Dr. Jacqueline as your host for USA Global TV and Radio's flagship show, A Woman's Prerogative. I'm also a TV presenter on other shows on the channel, and I'm the resident therapist for USA Global TV and Radio. A warm welcome to our viewers, our loyal viewers and friends at our usual social media platforms, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn and X. We have a really fascinating topic tonight, which is shopping trends uncovered, online convenience versus in-store experience. It's A Woman's Prerogative Part 2, and I'm not on this show alone. We are welcoming our wonderful full-time panelist, MARISKA Dupree. She is an optimist and she is an ICF PCC credentialized coach. I consider that coach extraordinaire. She is exceptional, and I am looking forward to the conversation about A Woman's Prerogative Part 2. Let's welcome MARISKA Dupree.
Hello, Caroline, and to all our viewers and listeners. I am very excited about today's topic.
I don't know where I come up with these topics. I just kind of think about what I'm doing, and then it comes up. I sort of think about them each week rather than do them in stock order. So please, MARISKA, for the people that are here for the first time, either watching on the live or the replay, please introduce yourself and tell them a little bit about what you do and how you help people.
So, as you heard, I'm MARISKA Dupree, and I am a leadership development partner. So how do we partner? I partner with people going from a specialization into leadership, as well as people already in leadership moving up within their careers. Now, you might think, well, why do I need a partner in the leadership space? Typically, what happens for most of us is we will go to university or study whatever it is that we studied, and we will start our specialization understanding that one thing really, really well, and then we need to start to, well, work with humans. Go figure. They are in the workplace, and yes, we are not all very well equipped necessarily to work with humans and get the best out of us and the rest of our team in order to make sure that the sum of its parts are more than actually only the parts. Because yes, we can have teams where we have 5 people together and they actually equate to 0.5 instead of 10 plus. So that's where I help you, and you can get hold of me via my email address, which is mariska@journey2discover.com, or alternatively, you can also find me on LinkedIn, where I am MARISKA D for some odd reason. But yes, I am there too. How about you, Caroline?
Thank you very much, MARISKA. Well, for me, I'm known as the Harley Street Stress Expert, as I introduced myself when I first came on the show, and I help people bust through their stress. I work with the client in terms of identifying the blueprint of what created their initial response to stress in the first place. So if it's physical, like physical ache and pain, if it's emotional sadness, loneliness, heartache, or if it's mental stress, anxiety, depression, or if it's behavioral, where you're complaining about a relationship, a person, or if you're angry all the time, if you're not happy, if you've always got a grudge to bear about something or someone, or in court all the time, these are natural behaviors, and you'll know because the person that's experiencing those behaviors will be experiencing them as a regular experience for them in their lives. I help you break through the pattern that creates that experience in your everyday life by identifying the root cause using root cause therapy and chakra psychology. I'm also a speaker, and I speak at corporate events and personal self-development events, and I also provide lunch and learn topics for teams, either online or face-to-face at their offices, looking at all manner of aspects of managing stress in the workplace, physically, emotionally, mentally, because if you're not okay, then productivity goes down. That's me, and you can catch me and follow me on Facebook and LinkedIn, or message me. So follow me, connect with me and message me, and I look forward to busting your stress. So Mariska, let's have a look at this topic. So looking at this topic, in part one, A Woman's Prerogative, shopping trends uncovered, online convenience versus in-store experience. In hearing that, Mariska, what comes up for you?
Two things. One, I had an interesting, from your topic, experience just last week where I browsed my internet site to see what I can see on a specific product. And then my bigger problem was, well, I wanted to know what size it was. Yes, I know there's sizes on the website and I can take my tape measure. And that's what I did. And I don't know. There's just something about the physical thing, being able to stand in front of it, see it in a space that makes it different. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to make a paper origami thing of it so that I can figure out how it looks in my space. So I sort of sat with that for a bit and tried to figure out where I can actually go and have a look at it. I would most probably still buy it online because it is a little bit cheaper that way. But I still wanted to actually see the product. And then I had another one where buying it online actually cost me so much more. So I went to look for the physical product in a store so I could save a bit of a penny or two on that. So that's the two things that came up for me when I saw our topic for today.
I'm so in agreement with you, because not everything is cheaper online. And that really surprises me, because I would naturally think, and in my years of shopping online, I am a bit of a shopping person online, because I don't always find the time to go out. When I was living in London, shopping in the middle of London was very stressful on the tubes, and it was very stressful in terms of the journey, and the shops were really busy, and it was always wind me up. So if I can, especially for technical things, I would speak to somebody or check all the profiles, check all the technical specs, and then I would speak to somebody, a technical support person, and then I would go and buy it after speaking to somebody. And it's all over the telephone and online. And I've certainly bought things like a TV, for instance, online, but gone to reputable companies like PREEZ. Sorry, they're not paying me to talk about them, but I just kind of let that slip. But that's one of the major stores in terms of the UK for buying technology and for buying large white goods. So it's a recognized and reputable brand. So if I was buying something like that, I would go to reputable brands rather than what I call box shifters. But then, you know what I mean? You know, those companies that just, it's warehouse prices or low price, but they're not giving you the tech support or the customer service in terms of knowledge of the product. And that for me is something that I desire. And so I have time doing research online, and then I make the call. What are your thoughts about what I've just shared in terms of, it's a big process if I'm buying something that's technical, at least, you know, my lights, for instance, for my studio, I bought online and I wasn't sure what the sizes were. So there I am getting my tape measure out thinking, what's 10 inch, what's 8 inch? What are your thoughts about what I've just shared?
I absolutely agree. I have exactly the same experience, especially with tech. The lighting I bought, same thing, also bought them online, and had to have my measuring tape and sort of try and figure out whether this would even fit on my desk or not. And being able to actually see who can support and who can not support, as you mentioned, those box shifters. I mean, if it's something that isn't necessarily technical, or it would be easy enough to fix myself, then fine, I don't have a problem. I love buying books online. So I have a tendency, and you guys can't see it, but I have a bookshelf just there, and my bookshelf, most of the stuff is bought online. I also have a Kindle, which luckily, if I had to have a bookshelf for the books that I have on that thing, I might need a couple of bookshelves. So there's a lot of things that is easy to buy online, and then there is definitely quite a few that needs research. And Caroline, I'm with you on the reputable sellers. So this might be a wholesaler that sells and gives us proper service, or I will go to the product manufacturer if possible. So I have a little robot vacuum cleaner, which I bought from the place itself and not from a wholesaler, because I wanted to make sure that I could get all the tech support and everything that I need for it, because, well, again, a technical piece of equipment, right? Yes, I know it vacuums, and it has all sorts of sensors and weird things in it. So if something fails, I want to know that I can get it fixed, and I know that these guys actually know what they're doing. So I'm with you on that one 100%, especially with white goods. And I mean, they are not cheap. Let's just be honest. Anything that has a microchip of any sort in it these days, they're not cheap. So I want to make sure that I can take care of them.
I'm in agreement. I'm nodding here in agreement with everything you're saying. We do speak the same song and sing from the same hymn sheet. One of the things that came to mind when you were speaking is the fact that I also have a big bookshelf, lots of bookshelves, very wide bookshelves. And I'm a collector of, because I'm auditory, audiobooks. And I do purchase them online, and I've got such a big library now that I have no room to store anything on my bookshelves. So now I'm looking at companies and buy from companies that have a hosting site so I can download at the hosting site. So I have Audible, and I also have some other ones from more personal self-development or spiritual involvement companies that I can download and keep it in their library. And so I stopped buying books quite a number of years ago and only buy a few because I just ran out of space. That's why I needed to buy a new home, because when I was living in London, I literally ran out of space on the bookshelves and I was filling up the floor with books. And so I stopped buying books. But that hasn't deterred me from buying books, because now I have a place that's twice the size. So, Mariska, from your perspective, do you feel that younger generations are gravitating more towards online shopping?
That is a good question. I have no idea, seeing as my younger generation does not live with me in my house. I think partially it's potentially a personality thing. It's also depending on where you live. So thinking about living in South Africa, I never shopped online. Other than if it is something that I get electronically and it would be delivered electronically, like a audiobook or a digital something, then yes. But other than that, I would not. And unfortunately, for the main reason that I would never know whether it would actually arrive at my doorstep, which is a bit sad, unfortunately. And in saying that, there's still couriers and things that you could have if you have a signed delivery. That's possible. Unfortunately, at that stage, I lived in the middle of nowhere. So very difficult to get a signed delivery other than potentially then maybe dropping it off at work. So I typically didn't do it as much. Now, in New Zealand, quite a different story. There, I'm very assured that my package will actually find its spot to my doorstep. So I had a tendency to order a little bit more online. What I would also do is I would save up. So say, for instance, I would want to order something from a specific seller. I would save up the things that I want to buy from them, keep them in my little shopping cart, especially if they're not urgent things, until they reach the limit, which, if you are clever, you will notice there's some limits. If you buy over a certain amount, you do not pay shipping. Yes. So that's what I would do. I would save up enough of the stuff so that it would get to that limit, and then I don't pay shipping. I get all the stuff at the same time, and I'm quite a happy person. As for our younger generation, I have no idea what they typically do. Potentially they might shop more online, but you know what? I see a lot of them in stores, so maybe not. I don't know. We need a younger generation person to let us know. Please let us know if you are of the younger generation, and this is Caroline, anything up until 70. Yeah.
Well, I'll be 61 this year, and I've been shopping online for a good few decades now, and I embraced it. But then I've got brothers that are around, sort of just a bit younger than me, that didn't embrace being online. And I think that you're absolutely right. It is dependent on the person in terms of their personality. Did they embrace going online? Because I know people that are 5 years younger than me and didn't do anything online. They don't even get train tickets or concert tickets. I mean, I can't imagine living in a world of not buying my train tickets or concert tickets or that kind of thing online. I don't know how they've survived. You know what I mean? But, I think it really is personal. And my view is that a lot of the retailers in the precincts and on the high streets have disappeared, certainly in the UK. I'm not so sure about where you are, but they've disappeared because there is a trend to shop online. And that's certainly relevant for the UK particularly, that our high street stores are disappearing. And when I speak to people when I was in London on the tube, and I would say, oh, that's a really nice outfit you're wearing. Oh, I love your coat. I love your jacket. I was frequently, because I do that, I was frequently told that they bought it online at an online store. And so I was getting that interaction from young people, even shoes or boots. And I go, oh, those are really nice boots. But do you mind me asking where you got them from? And, because I'm a bit cheeky like that. And I like to interact with people. And they would say, oh, it's an online store, such and such. And I would go, oh. And then I would immediately switch off, because that isn't what I would do. And yet in the UK particularly, there has been a lot of shoe shops that have disappeared, a lot of high street department stores that have gone. So what's it like for you, where in the different countries that you have resided in recent years, because you've got 3 now, how's the high street in comparison to your online experiences? Are you losing stores in the high street?
Caroline, I think there's definitely an impact. Looking at, and just as you mentioning the things like shoes, clothing, those sort of things, there's some of them that, I mean, it just makes a lot more sense for people to do it online versus in a physical location. Because one, online, you actually have a bigger reach. You can literally, as long as the postal services work within your area, the world's your oyster. Whereas in a physical area, you are sort of limited to whoever can get to the shop. And it might not always be the same type of people. So there is definitely an advantage on moving online. And because of that move, and most probably because people just in general, I mean, it's a cost saving. There's a lot of other benefits and things around there that help to move it online, which means we do lose some of the physical shops. Speaking of my small little town where I am at the moment, we had a big store that's been here for a while closed down, and they also now doing things online. They don't have a physical store anymore, which is a little bit sad because it was a fun place to go and just look around and see what they have. They have all sorts of interesting knickknacks there. And as you were talking about fashion, it also reminded me of something that I love doing. And I'm sorry, I have not seen this online ever yet. I am saying yet. Is our lovely pre-loved stores. Because, well, they have all sorts of different things coming in on a regular basis. So I think it might be a little bit tricky for them to put everything online. And that's a lovely place that, well, I also enjoy going to re-love some stuff that, speaking of, this jacket also came from. So see, there's all sorts of different things that sometimes you can't quite do them online as well as you can do them in life.
I am really hearing you and agree with you, apart from the fact that I don't buy clothes online because I'm not a standard size. So I like to try them on. And I talked about this quite extensively in part 1. But one of the things that I am a bit of a collector of and have collected quite a lot in the past is antiques and antique planters. And I collected planters as old as 1850 and early 1900s. And I've picked them up for a steal. So I quite like old stuff. And so when you mentioned pre-love, and eBay is one of the places I've gone to collect pre-love stuff. And because you can't necessarily find that kind of stuff very easily in a retail high street. And I've picked up some really nice bits of furniture from secondhand shops. And my home is really full of pre-loved bric-a-brac and furniture, and the planters with the brass planters with the big lion face with the ring. I've got some of those. And it's just that they didn't cost me a lot of money. They were actually reasonably inexpensive in comparison to buying something that was traditional and new. And at the same time, a lot of things have character that I've got. And I really love that. And I don't think that I would have the time to go looking on the high street or in markets in the same way. And I've actually kitted out my home with chandeliers, which I've bought online. Sort of the period chandeliers, the 3 and 5 arm chandeliers, which I bought for next to nothing, really. And I probably couldn't get anything like that traditionally modern for the same sort of price. And so I'm a bit of a fan of looking at the auction sites and bidding, for something, and then bidding for, sort of best offer and things like that. And so I don't feel that I would get that experience if I went to the high street. I'm not a haggler in the high street, much more online. So yes, I feel that there is a difference. And at the same time, it's made me think that I've been quite an avid collector. And that's also reminded me about jewelry as well. I'm a fan of collecting pendants, jewelry, crystal. And I've purchased a lot in the past online from the US. And I would bid for it in the wee hours of the morning, where it was like during the daytime, and I would pay almost very small amounts of money because I was there bidding right till the end. And that's like, it gives me an adrenaline rush. I don't do it very often these days. It was something that I really got adventurous about. So online gave me quite a kick while I was collecting lots of stones and jewelry and pendants. But I'm just thinking about now we've looked at younger generations and our experience of what we buy online. But what do you think about the older generations and how they perceive online shopping versus in-store shopping?
Well, yeah, I need to reference most probably parents would be the older generations. Unfortunately, all my grandparents passed away already, so they are not doing any shopping of any sort. Parents, let's see. Well, sometimes I think that and I do apologize if I am incorrect, mom and dad, but I think mostly it is more physical, more so than online, although my mom is very tax savvy, so I am sure that she would be able to buy stuff online if she so desires. And I have known her to buy things online, a very small amount though. So it's not big, a frequently happening thing. So I think for the older generations, typically less so. I remember New Zealand, I don't know whether you guys still do checks or not, or whether some people watching the show even know what a check is. It is a piece of paper that you fill out to say, I owe this amount of money to this person. You give it to that person and they give it to the bank and the bank gives them the money. Easy enough. So we started phasing out checks in New Zealand a couple of years ago. And I remembered quite a few newspapers reporting on the especially older generation being very upset about the fact that they can't write checks anymore because they just found it as a very easy way to go about it. And then people told them that they need to do online banking. This, of course, created quite a stir. So I do think that there is some resistance in some areas, especially for people that has been doing things a certain way for a very, very long time. What's your experience like, Caroline?
I can quite agree with you. And I do a lot of, in inverted commas, air quotes, online shopping for my mum because I said, I can get that cheaper. Let me do some research for you. And now, because she has an iPhone, she does have adverts that come up. She's realized that the phones are listening. And if she's been talking about something, she gets an advert that pops up, or a sponsorship thing on Facebook that is offering what she's been talking about. So she's very cute at that sort of thing. And then she will click and she will look. But then she stops there and says, I've seen something that I like. Can you have a look for it for me? And I ask her to send me a picture. And so it's really that she's had the influence of grandchildren. She's got the influence of myself, her daughter, who is shopping online, and things that she can't get in the locality, as you mentioned. She will ask me, can you have a look for that? and tell me what price you can get it at. So she will be very savvy, and at the same time would prefer me to do that shop for her. But then she also says she doesn't like to lose her independence, and why can't she go to a shop and buy it herself? So there is, I feel, a frustration with the more mature and older generation, the silent generation, the people that were born in the wartime and shortly after the wartime. I do feel that from what I've experienced personally with my own parents and what I've experienced by having conversations with others, that it is challenging, and yet they feel left behind, and so they are pushing themselves to keep up with some of the changes. And you mentioned about online banking, and that was such a demise for my mum because all the branches were closing, and so it pushed her to have to do something. And I recommended telephone banking because at least she could still speak to somebody. But what's really beautiful about that is that it pushes some of our older generation into exploring online, and it also causes frustration as well. And no doubt, I'm sure that people that are listening to this show right now, either on the live or the replay, can attest that sometimes the systems are down, sometimes things don't go through, sometimes you put something in the basket and it stays there, or it doesn't go through to checkout. And all of these challenges can come up when you're online, and I've certainly had experiences myself with frustration. So just looking at scams and trustworthy and feeling risk averse or risque, because there is a lot of scam type websites that are up now. Do you have any thoughts on how people could be more security conscious or more conscious about finding these types of websites? Do you have any thoughts about how to prevent your card being cloned or sort of any kind of fraudulent activity online? Do you have any thoughts or experiences of how you've protected yourself?
Caroline, that is something, and touch wood, that I have experienced once and prefer not to go through again. Thank you so very, very much. So for me, it was on a holiday of all things. We were traveling to the middle of nowhere. I only had reception some of the times during the travel, because even on the road, there was pieces that just didn't have any reception. And I saw some transactions on my bank account that I had no idea where they came from. Reported it to the bank. They told me, hey, this is fraudulent. We can see that it is from a place that you've never bought anything from before. And they reversed the transaction. So luckily, they were able to help me out with it. So that would definitely be one thing that I would be vigilant about, is making sure that whenever you look at your bank statement, and that's why, for me, in any case, online banking is very, very helpful. I have immediate access to that. So it makes it nice and easy. You can see what went off, what it is for. It gives you a little description, so it makes it a bit easier for you to know what's what there. And then the other thing is really doing research, which I know sometimes it sucks. I get it. And as you mentioned, Caroline, there are so many websites these days that you sort of go, okay, so are you just really enthusiastic about this thing, or are you real? Because I don't know. And one of the things that in the past I knew worked really well, now with ChatGPT and all the other things, it might not be as effective anymore, is looking at language use. So typically on these fraudulent websites, one of the things that they don't want to do is spend a lot of time making sure that everything is perfect. So they have a tendency to not put the writing through any grammar thing at all. So there would be spelling mistakes, or ways of using language might be a little bit weird and funky. So that's one thing to look at. And then if you're not sure, I would double check. There are some sites actually that would tell you whether there's a site that has some nefarious other activities going on in it or on it. And then, of course, as we might know, we from time to time have legal sites that gets broken into, and then your data gets distributed all over. So being very, very careful with your own data is getting a lot more important. So being able to educate yourself regularly, and if you feel that you are not educated enough, get somebody that you trust that is educated within that space, and help them, or help you help, or help them help you, whichever way around. Be helped.
Thank you, Mariska. And I love the fact that you shared some of the things that you have about fraud and scam websites. And it made me think about the fact that if something, and they say this, it's a little cliche, if something sounds too good to be true, it's probably not real. It probably is too good to be true and maybe fake. Some things are good. So how do you work it out? One of the things that I do is I have this like little questioning mind, and I put into Google, especially if I'm about to purchase and it's a new site and I don't really recognize them or know them, I'll put into Google scam and then the site, or sort of the item, the product. And I'm amazed at how Google can come up with lots of records of the fact that that particular product is a scam product. And very recently, I had a sponsorship ad through on my Facebook saying there was a 3-month travel card for £2 for 3 months travel on all the buses in my area. And I just thought, oh, wow, that's really cool. And then I thought, is this too good to be true? And so what I did was I did a little Google search on my computer in another browser, and it came up with scam alert. And it said about this particular thing, and I put in the exact wording that it was using, and it was a 3-month travel pass for the South Yorkshire area. And I was really pleased, and I called up the local travel company and said, I almost didn't quite, but I almost bought, because it was only £2, and I just thought, well, that's nothing. So, you know, this will be really worthy. And I said, and she said, did you? And I said, no, I didn't, because I checked. I did a search. So even though Google might not always be accurate, there was many people that reported this travel card for £2, which would have been a steal. And so, you know, I was very relieved that I didn't go ahead and purchase, because many people would have said, oh, £2, it's not a lot of money, you know, and if you're traveling around the locality. So yes, I would Google search, because that is definitely one foolproof way of, if other people have been caught out, that they will share their experiences online. And I certainly share my experiences online if anything's happened that isn't good. So we are almost at the end of our show, Mariska. Can you believe it? Doesn't that feel that it's gone quickly? So one final quick question before we close out on the show, and that is, do you feel, or how do you feel, the online stores, how are they affecting local businesses? Are they affecting local businesses? Or do you think that local businesses are thriving as the online businesses are thriving?
Well, I think it is a little bit depending on the type of store and the environment, the area where you are in. So I do think that there might be a big effect in some areas, and maybe not so big an effect in other areas. And I don't know, this might be another one of those things where our listeners and viewers can share with us what they find in their area. So for me, when it comes to food, no. Online stores, not so much.
Well, we are right at the top of the close of the show. Mariska, please do share how people can contact you before we close out.
So you can contact me via my email, which is mariska@journey2discover.com, and you will see it down at the bottom there. And you can also link up with me via LinkedIn, Mariska D, and that is where you will find me. And we can start our conversation, whether you are a specialist moving into leadership or moving up within your leadership space. Over to you, Caroline.
Thank you, Mariska. You can contact me on nomorestress@live.co.uk or reach out and call if you're international, +44. If you're local, 07523 120 189. Or follow me on LinkedIn and Facebook and connect with me there and drop me a message. This has been a very interesting show. I've really enjoyed the exploration. I'm sure that there will be even more to explore in terms of online convenience versus in-store experience. It's been my pleasure to bring A Woman's Prerogative Part 2 to you tonight, and we look forward to seeing you next week on A Woman's Prerogative Part 1, which will be 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, and Part 2, A Woman's Prerogative, at 4 p.m. Eastern Time and 9 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. Thank you very much for joining us. Just before we close out, please do consider joining our VIP exclusive community and become an exclusive and VIP community member. For first access to our newest videos, photographs and insights on the British royal family, live streamed on YouTube and USA Global TV and radio. Thank you very much for joining us, whether you're here on the live or the replay, and I look forward to seeing you next week, next Monday. Bye-bye for now, and over to our sponsors.
Have you ever felt unheard? Like your words float into a void, leaving you invisible and disconnected? How about feeling judged, when assumptions overshadow your truth, leaving you misunderstood and defensive? And then there's that moment when someone offers solutions you never asked for, dismissing your feelings and leaving you more frustrated than before. It doesn't have to be this way. Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, the listening mentor, understands. She's here to help you reclaim your voice, build stronger connections, and create meaningful conversations that inspire understanding and mutual respect. Through her groundbreaking books, online and in-person courses, and interactive workshops, you'll learn how to navigate life's most challenging interactions. Discover the power of elevated listening and transform how you communicate. Master setting boundaries and asking permission to protect your peace. Learn to recognize and release judgment, fostering empathy and true connection. Dr. Kerbeck also offers personalized coaching, one-on-one or group sessions designed to fit your unique needs. Whether in person or virtually on StreamYard, her guidance will empower you to thrive. You don't have to struggle alone. The path to deeper connections and better relationships start here. Visit drjacqueline.com or usaglobaltv.com. Join a global community of empowered listeners and transform your life, one meaningful conversation at a time. Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck is the listening mentor. Start your journey today.